I've been reading my comments, and there are some parents wondering how they can reliably, not too imposingly, keep their kids from watching porn.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing in the entire world, and parents aren't going to.
Because it is technically a drug that is non-existent in the real world. It's just on your phone, and no one will ever know it existed.
Yep, exactly. So number one is to talk to them. That's the hard one. Parents don't do that. Parents,
yeah, I mean, it's gonna be awkward.
It really, like, talk to them not once, talk to them all the time about sex, about watching pornography, about the dangers. My kids know. And actually now we just talk about it openly in the house because, you know, but over time, it's been like, you know, I'll go in there and I'll talk to my kids. And first they cringed and they really did not like it. But what it did was, you know, they're still in the teen years. What it did was open the door so they could come to me and talk to me about things. And so, like, you can put blockers on your kids' phones, but, you know, especially kids can get around blockers better than adults can, and adults can get around the blockers. So, like, blockers are just fences. It really is about teaching them the dangers. And again, it's like, you know, when they're young, you teach them to respect you, and then you've earned their respect for a lifetime. You're not like constantly getting their respect out of discipline. Some parents do that. And that's why I said enforcing things lovingly. Like, I thank God I very rarely, I don't yell at my kids. I don't punish my kids. I definitely like deliver the consequences of their choices, but that's like very different than me punishing them. It's like, you did this, you know, this is just the way it goes after you do that. And so, like, starting to talk to them and telling them, and actually there's a book out there that is called Good Pictures, Bad Pictures. And there's two different levels of it. So parents could show their very young kids the younger version, and then their, you know, young 7, 8, 9-year-old kids the little bit older version. It becomes a springboard for conversation. And really it's just talking about, you know, there's good pictures and bad pictures. And if bad pictures pop up on your computer, they're very bad for your brain. And that, you know, don't look at them, and tell me if you see them. And again, like, if the door's open for conversation where it doesn't feel weird, it is hard enough, but at least then conversation starts. And I remember when my kids were little, it was one of those moments, you know, talk about infinite intelligence and, you know, divinely inspired moments. I remember one of my kids, I think it was Declan, who's my second, they were little and they get off the bus and my son goes, you know, can we talk about the sax? And I'm like, what's the sax? You know, it ended up being sex, obviously. And I'm in the kitchen panicking, like, oh my God, I've got to talk to 4 little kids right now about sex. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I said, let me just finish making dinner and then we'll talk about it. And back then I didn't know anything. And actually I did it really well. This is the infinite intelligence part. Asking their kids, ask your kids, what do they know about it? Before you tell them everything. Don't tell them anything until you know what they know. And then and I did that. I said, you know, what do you know? How do you know about it? And, you know, of course, kids on the bus were talking about it. They didn't really know very much, but I took what they knew and just validated it. And I think we need to teach our kids that sex is healthy, porn is not.
Yeah.
Which I've been doing with my own children very weirdly, because it is a framework shift for me. That's not what I was taught.
Yeah. I mean, when kids are brought up when watching entertainment, they're kind of taught or subconsciously taught that, like, oh, shooting everyone is okay, but sex is kind of don't want to talk about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, totally. You could watch a fight scene where somebody beats up 73 people, and then a sex scene comes on, and you're like, no, like it's gonna burn their eyes. I know, absolutely. So, you know, and having more conversations around that, and, you know, allowing that to be talked about, that's the number one thing you can do. But then at the same time, you know, not allowing your kids to have free reign of their electronics, which a lot of parents do. And that's really, really tricky to police it. But you want to teach your kids to police themselves. And that is, you know that how that goes.
Yeah.
You teach a man to fish. If you teach the kids the dangers, they don't want to watch from an early age, instead of like being told they can't. If you're told you can't do something, what do you want to do? That thing.
Do it, yeah. And so We're working. So we're working on this video.